Welcome back, student. I hope you all are doing well. Today we'll be doing on the last exercise of your chapter 1 Roman system. Some of you might know and some of you might not know. As we all know, in Roman system we only follows, or there are only 7 letters. They are I, V, X, L, C, D, M. Only these 7 letters are there in the Roman systems, and I represents 1, and V represents 5, X represents 10, and L represents 50, C represents 100, D 500, and M 1000. And there are certain rules which needs to be followed when we write the Roman systems. Let's look at the rule. Rule number 1 says numerals I, X, C, and M. I, X, C, and M can be repeated to represent a number. Repetition means addition, and I, X, C, the letter I, X, C cannot be repeated more than 3 times. Symbols V, L, D are not repeated. Out of the 7 letters of the alphabets, V, L, D are not repeated. Let's look at an example. Suppose if here it says that I, X, C cannot be repeated more than 3 times. So let's repeat 3 times. 1, 1. I. This represents 3. 3 times of I is 3. This is I, and then I is 1. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. Let's look at another examples. C. C is 100. So this is 100 3 times. 100 plus 100 plus 100. This gives us 300. This one is repeated 3 times. And then X. X 3 times. X is 10. So 10 plus 10 plus 10. This gives us 30. Let's try repeating this letter I 4 times. 1, 1, 1, 1. This is 1 plus 1. This is I, and this is 1 plus 1 plus 1. This gives us 4, but this is not the correct way to write the Roman numerals. This is wrong. But the letter M, out of these 4 letters, M can be repeated 4 times. M, and M. M 4 times is, M is 1000, so 1000 4 times plus 1000 plus 1000. This 4 times is 4. If we add it, it is 4000. And the letters V, L, D. V is 5, L is 50, and D is 500. These 3 letters are not repeated, not even twice or thrice. They are never repeated. Not repeated. Always remember. And then there is one thing in Roman system, there is no 0. Keep in mind, there is no 0 in the Roman system. Let's move on to rule number 2. Rule number 2 says a smaller numeral written to the right of a numeral of greater value is always added to the greater numeral. Let's do with an example. Example 1. Example 1. Let's do xii. It means that the greater number x represents 10, and then this I is 1 and another 1. So, and one thing in Roman system, if you in Roman system, the big number, if it goes to big number to small number, they are added, and then if it goes from small number to big number, it is subtracted. So here it goes big to small, so it is addition or add. So if you add this, 10 plus 1 plus 1 is 12. This xii means 12. Another example, example number 2, CLV. C is 100 and L is 50 and V is 5. So this also goes from big to small, so it is addition. You add them together, and then this all three, if you add together, it is 150 plus 5 is 155. So 155 in Roman numeral is CLV. Another example, example number 3, VI. VI is, V represents 5 and then I is 1. This also, it goes from big to small, so you add it and this gives us 6. That's all for rule number 2, and then move on to rule number 3. Rule number 3 says a smaller numeral written to the left of a numeral of greater value is always added, always subtracted from the greater numerals. Let's do an example. An example 1, IV. Before it was big to small, now it is small to big. IV is, I is 1 and then V is 5. As I have said, this goes from small to big and it is subtracted. But you cannot but when we write, you cannot write it as -4, because when you write it, you cannot write it -4, because when you write it, you cannot write -4, but it will become, it will change its positions. That is 5 minus 1, that give us 4. So this IV represents 4. Example number 2, XL. XL, X is 10 and then L is 50. So this also goes from small to big, so it is minus, and this gives us 50 minus 10 equals 40. XL is 40. Example number 3, cm. C is 100 and then m is 1000. So this also small to big, minus this 1000 minus 100 is 900. That's all about rule number 3, and then next is rule number 4. Rule number 4, it says that when a smaller numeral is placed between two numerals of greater value, it is always subtracted from the greater numeral immediately following it. And point to remember, the symbol I can be subtracted from V and X. The symbol X can be subtracted from L and C. The symbol C can be subtracted from D and M. Symbols V, L, D are never subtracted. Let's do with an example. First example, X, I, X. See, this I is surrounded by both larger numbers or larger numerals than I. So it is done like this. X is 10 and then I is 1 and X is 10. As it says in the rules, these two will be subtracted. This one to this one is going from big to small, so this is plus, and then this one is small to big, so this is subtract. You subtract these two. 10 plus these two minus is 9, and then 10 plus 9 is 19. So Ix is 19. Example number 2, X, I, V. X is 10, I is 1, this is 1, and V is 5. So from 10 to 1, it is going from big to small. So this one is plus, and then from 1 to 5, this one is small to big. So this subtract. You subtract these two. 10 plus these two minus is 4. So these two, if you plus, it's 14. So XIV is 14. Another example, CXC. C is 100, X is 10, and then C is 100. So this big to small plus small to big minus 100 plus this 2 minus is 90. This 2 plus is 190. So CXC is 190. That's all about rule number 4. Points to remember: numbers 1 to 100 can be written with the help of 5 numerals, that is I, V, X, L, and C. I, V, X, L, and C. Examples of Roman system. Let's try to convert this 96 into a Roman system. Solution. 96 is in Roman system. You have to break them down, this 96 into, you can do it like this. 96 equals 90 plus 5 plus 1. 90 is not there, so this also use break it down. That means 90 is 100 minus 10 is 90. So you write this 100 minus 10 and then plus 5 plus 1. And then these two, if you minus, it give us, when you break down, you give the numbers or the numerals. 100 is C, 10 is X, 5 is V, and then 1 is I. So we get this one, it will come this side and this one will go this way. So X is first, X, C, V, I. 75, let's try 75. 75 equals 70 plus 5. 70, you break it down, it can goes like this. 50 plus 10 plus 10, this give us 70, right? 5, 50, 60, 70, and then plus 5. 50 is L, and then 10 is X, and 10 is X, and 5 is V. So this one is L, X, X, V. 75 is L, X, X, V. And 96 is X, C, V, I. Let's do an example of Hindu-Arabic system. This one, you turn it into the number Hindu-Arabic, okay? Let's do this one. L, X, 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 I. L represents 50, X is 10, X is also 10, and 10, 1, and then 1. This one, if you look at it, it goes from big to small. So this one will be addition. Plus, 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 plus. 50, 60, 70, 80, 81, 82, 83. This gives us 83. So L, X, 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 I is 83. Let's look at this number B. XCV, XCV. X is 10, and then C is 100, and then V is 5. This one, if you look at here, it goes from small to big and big to small. Small to big is subtract, and then big to small is plus. So you do this one. 100 minus 10 is 90, and then this plus 5. This gives us 95. That's all for the example of Hindu-Arabic system. Let's do the exercise. It's the same. Write the following in Roman system. 19. You can write it down. 19 is 10 plus 5 plus 1 plus 19. 10 is X, 10 is X, and then I. So this one, it will change it. So this come as X, I, X. 19 is X, I, X. 36. 36 is 10 plus 10 plus 10, and then plus 5 plus 1. X, X, x vi. This is 1. So 36 is x triple x and then vi. Another more, 75. 75 you can break it down into 50 plus 10 plus 10. 50, 60, 70 and then 5, 75. So 50 is L, and then 10 is x, and another 10x, and then 5 is v. So 75 is LXXV. 96 can be written 96 equals 100 minus 100 is C, x, 10 is x, 5 is v, and then 1 is I. So this one will change its position. X C V I. XCVI is 96. Let's do the example or exercise of Hindu Arabic system. This question and all, it can come in 2 marks. Let's do this one. X X I X. X X I X. X is 10 and then 10 and then 1 and then 10. So this one equals 10 plus 10, and then this one, small to big, is minus 20 plus 9. This one is 29. X X I X is 29. X is 10, L is 50, and then V is 5, and then I is 1. So this one, small to big minus, and then big to small plus, big to small plus. Only this 2 is minus. So if you subtract these 2, it gives 40 plus 5 plus 1, 6. This one is 46. XLVI is 46. X is 10, and then C is 100, and then I is 1, 1, 1. Small to big minus big to small plus plus plus. Subtract this to 90. 1, 2, 3 plus 3, 93. XCII is 93. The last one, XLI. X is 10, L is 50, and then I is 1. Small to big is minus, big to small is plus. You subtract this to 40 and then plus 1. This gives us 41. That's all.